Hello aspirants, I once again welcome you all to editorial analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today we have two different topics. In the first topic we will be discussing about the marine sequestration of carbon, and in the second article we have already discussed this in our newspaper analysis, but here we are going to discuss about the certain government initiatives that actually help farmers when it comes to income generation. So we'll be seeing both the articles from the mains perspective. So without any delay, let us get into the news article discussion. Now look at this topic about marine carbon sequestration. See, carbon sequestration is very important when it comes to both prelims as well as mains, because it is the major point of how the climate change can be controlled in the real time. So that is why we have chosen this article, and here this data is very important. This carbon sequestration, when it comes to marine environment, it nearly absorbs 25% of anthropogenic carbon dioxide emission and over 90% of the excess heat generated by greenhouse gases. So this means that the marine ecosystem or the oceans, they play a very important role when it comes to carbon cycle. And here I have a mains question for you with respect to this particular topic. Let me read out the question. Critically evaluate the potential of marine-based carbon sequestration in achieving net zero emissions. Propose a strategic roadmap for sustainable development, emphasizing equitable climate action and India's role in leveraging ocean-based solution within global climate framework. So you can write this answer for 15 marker and 250 words and post it in the comment section. We will be reviewing your answer. So let's start with what is this carbon sink or the carbon sequestration. See, carbon sequestration is nothing but the process of storing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere so that it does not cause a potential warming effect. So ocean actually has the natural capacity to absorb this greenhouse gases, and it plays a pivotal role in global carbon budget by absorbing the excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. But the issue here is sometimes it leads to acidification as well. So what happens if a lot of carbon dioxide is stored in ocean water? It leads to increase in acidity. That means it will reduce the pH level. So what happens is when the CO2 it goes into the ocean water, it leads to lot of hydrogen ions along with bicarbonate ions. So what happens when H2 ions is in very higher level? It leads to the increase in acidity or the decrease in the pH level. So what happens when pH level decreases? A lot of marine organisms that are made up of shells, they will be losing their skeleton actually, and even the coral reefs and corals, they will be finding it difficult to survive in such a condition. So while the ocean, they act as a carbon sequester medium, on the other hand, it actually leads to ocean acidification, leading to very harmful threat to the marine biodiversity. So this actually disrupts the biogeochemical cycles. But again, we can do marine carbon sequestration in a very safe and sustainable manner. And for that, firstly, we have to reduce the CO2 emission when it comes to the atmosphere. So we have to limit a lot of activities that leads to CO2 emission in atmosphere, in the land, and again by using certain techniques in the ocean like iron fertilization. So iron fertilization is like adding iron to the water. This will lead to the growth of planktons. This planktons will consume the CO2 and leading to breaking down of this CO2, causing zero emission. And the kelp is nothing but seaweed. So this seaweed, what it does is it actually consumes the CO2 and break it into the organic matter. So kelp forming can also help, and the deep sea carbon burial can also help to some extent to contain the CO2 from causing a major incident like ocean acidification. So we can do this in a sustainable manner when both the techniques get combined. We have to reduce the emission in the land as well as we have to include the techniques, sustainable techniques like iron fertilization, kelp farming and deep sea carbon burial. However, there are certain challenges that are associated with marine carbon sequestration. For example, the ecological risk. Even though if we undergo the deep burial of carbon, there is always a chance for breakage and leading to ocean acidification and disruption of the ecosystem. Secondly, the technology and financial constraints is the most important thing. So especially when it comes to the developing countries, they could not implement a particular framework to sequester the carbon. Third thing is the regulatory and ethical issue. There is an unclear international framework, and there always remains a debate between the developed and the developing countries. And fourthly, there is a public perception, there is skepticism about the topic, and there is also resistance from the coastal regions when it comes to techniques like iron fertilization. Finally, there is inequitable access to resources, which is actually leading to competing claims. Due to this, there is no proper streamlining in the process of implementing a framework when it comes to carbon sequestration. So, these are the challenges associated with marine carbon sequestration. Now, moving on, let us see the way forward, what can be done. See, the first thing is we have to integrate the approach, as I said earlier. We have to combine the marine based as well as the land based solution, and we have to focus on SDG goal number 13, which is climate action. And for this, all the expertise should come together, and SDG 14, which is life below water. So, this means safeguarding the ecosystem that is under the ocean waters. Secondly, we have to focus more on research and development, especially we have to invest in low risk and cost effective solutions. And we have to bring blue carbon ecosystem, especially we have to focus on the mangroves, and we have to focus on the sea grasses. And for this, the pollution level at the land should be reduced enormously. And the nutrient load gets released from any kind of industries which joins a stream and finally end up in the ocean. So this will lead to eutrophication, and this phenomenon should be eliminated thoroughly so that the blue carbon ecosystem like mangroves and sea grasses can thrive. Thirdly, we have to bring in global governance. It is not that the coast belongs to a particular country and only that country should take care of it. We have to develop an international framework for knowledge and tech sharing. And this international framework should be followed by every other human who is going to make use of this particular thing. Fourthly, we have to bring in a lot of public awareness and collaboration. This can be done by addressing the skepticism among the people, and we have to foster collaboration. Especially, we have to bring community participation. So, when we talk about safeguarding the mangroves, we actually require the community participation. And for that, we have to bring in the awareness and proper dissemination of information. Fifthly, we have to concentrate on decarbonizing efforts, especially we have to prioritize emission cuts and use of renewable energy. Finally, when it comes to India's role, India should leverage marine biodiversity and lead regional collaboration under IORA. IORA is nothing but the Indian Ocean Rim Association. So far we saw about what is this marine carbon sequestration. Then we saw about what are the implications or the impact of this marine carbon sequestration. Then we saw what is the alternative for sustainable marine carbon sequestration. Then we saw what are all the challenges and the way forward. So having discussed all these, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this topic about PM Kisan Samman Nidhi. The main purpose of the initiative is to provide a minimum income support of Rs 6,000 per year for the farmers. So apart from this PM Kisan Samman Nidhi, we have other income support schemes that has been brought up by our government. Let us see them one by one from the mains perspective. Before that, I have a mains question for you. Inclusivity in welfare schemes often conflict with accountability. Discuss this statement in the light of the enrollment and recovery challenges under the PM Kisan scheme. So you have to write an answer for 15 marker and 250 words, and you can post it in the comment section so that we will be reviewing your answer. So let's start with this PM Samman Nidhi Yojana. So it is actually a central sector scheme, meaning 100% of the funding is provided by the center itself, and the state will not be providing any kind of share to this particular fund. So it was launched in February 24, 2019, and we have already discussed this in our newspaper analysis. You can just view that to get a better understanding about this PM Samman Nidhi Yojana. Moving on, the second important scheme is this Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, PMFBY. So this is actually implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare and empaneled insurance companies. So empaneled is nothing but the insurance company that has come forward to undergo in this particular scheme. So the special features include firstly the coverage for pre-sowing and post-harvest losses due to natural calamities. So it is like a insurance to the farmers. So the farmers should pay premium, which is a very minimal or a negligible amount. Here you can see the premium. It is capped at 2% for any kind of kharif crop, and 1.5% for the rabi crop, and 5% for horticulture crops. So here this percentage you have to remember, because from the prelims perspective they will be asking that for all the crops there is only 2%. No, this statement is wrong. So it actually varies based on the crop type. So another important thing that you have to remember is this premium can be claimed for both the pre and post harvest. So this will reduce the money lender's role and help the farmer to double his income by minimizing the losses. And currently the technology has been used for faster claim settlement, especially the remote sensing and GPS has been used in order to settle the amount faster as earlier. Now the third important scheme is this Agri Infrastructure Fund, in short called as AIF. This is implemented by Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare in partnership with banks and financial institutions. So here concessional loans. So there will be a loan and it will be provided in concessional interest rate for setting up of any kind of warehouse, cold storages and other post-harvest investment infrastructure. And for this, inter-subvention of 3% per annum is provided, and the credit guarantee for projects up to 2 crore rupees. So if there is a farmer in a particular village and he has to establish some kind of cold storage or any kind of post harvest infrastructure, and the budget for him is like 2 crore rupees, even then he can go and ask for fund from this AIF. So it is open to all the entrepreneurs, startups, FPOs, self-help groups and other agri entrepreneurs. So this is a very important scheme where loan is provided. Now the fourth important scheme is the formation of Farmer Producer Organization, FPO. So this is a concept where all the farmers, they come together, they create a association, and this association will tell or fix a price, and for this price the market should procure the goods. So this is what the FPO is about. So what happens here is there will be a collective bargaining power, so that the middlemen will be eliminated and all the money that goes to the middlemen will be provided directly to this association, and it will be divided among the members of the association. Second thing is that the money lender's role will be declining, because the losses will be shared among the members. Thirdly, there will be option for diversification as well. So if we know that there is excess of supply of a particular thing, we can actually reduce the supply by diversifying the crops. So that is also possible when it comes to this FPO. So this FPO, or the formation of FPO, is actually implemented by Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare with NABARD and Small Farmers Agribusiness Consortium, SFAC, as the key partner. So the main feature is that financial assistance up to 18 lakh per FPO will be provided under this scheme, and a 5-year of professional support through cluster based business organization, or the CBBO, will be provided. This CBBO is nothing but expertise group that will be formed by the government itself. They will be giving guidance and they will be setting rules and regulations, and it is like an expert team, and this expert team will always be available for the FPO in order to guide under a particular circumstance. So here we can tell that the government does not only help to form this FPO, but also helps in for proper functioning of this FPO without being failing. So these are all very important schemes that you have to remember. When we talk about the challenges, see, there is a very limited awareness about all these schemes, especially the small landholders. We have 85% of people having small lands, and they are unaware of these schemes. Secondly, there is fragmented landholding, as I said earlier. So the scheme does not actually cater effectively to small and marginal farmers. And thirdly, there is bureaucratic inefficiency. Here, for the fragmented land holding, we can actually pool the land, and again here comes the FPO's role. So the FPO, they can pool the land and they can claim a particular scheme under that land pooling method. And when we talk about the bureaucratic inefficiency, there is lengthy procedure which is not very easy for any common farmer to undergo, and there is a delay in fund disbursement, reducing the trust in the system. And there is infrastructure gap, especially inadequate storage, transport and irrigation infrastructure is hampering the effectiveness of this scheme. And finally, there is the climate risk. So we are actually dependent on monsoon and we are vulnerable to it. So increased variability in the weather patterns has actually impacted the outcomes of the agricultural initiatives. So these are all the challenges that you have to remember. Moving on, talking about the way forward, we have to first use the technology by using the AI and IoT for precision farming and effective resource allocation. See, this applies to everything, for the water allocation, electricity allocation, and even for crop diversification. So this, if all this happens, the precision agriculture actually happens without any external effort. So we have to use AI. Secondly, we have to bring in the capacity building. We have to provide regular training and awareness programs for the farmers. Thirdly, we have to bring a decentralized implementation. This will empower the local bodies to monitor and implement the schemes. And fourthly, we have to bring in the public private partnership. So this will this will bring a lot of innovation into the ecosystem, so the cost will be reduced and the simple solutions will be provided instead of a complex one. So this will encourage collaboration with the private entities for better infrastructure and services. And finally, we have to, this is the very important thing, we have to focus on the feedback mechanism. So we have to establish systems to incorporate farmer feedback into policy revisions as well. So this is the very important thing. So if here we saw a point right here, if the scheme is not catering to a particular region for a particular farmers, we have to obviously we have to revise or revisit the particular scheme, right? So we have to also work on the feedback mechanism to make the scheme more effective and functional. So far we saw about certain important schemes or the government initiative that provides income support for the farmers, and then we saw what are all the challenges in it and the way forward. So with this, we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, do comment, and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now thank you so much for listening.